Hey guys, tonight we're diving into something a little sweet and surprisingly medicinal: honey. Yes, honey, the golden nectar we drizzle over pancakes or stir into tea, was once a sacred elixir in the ancient world. Imagine this. You're strolling along the banks of the Nile River, the scent of desert sand mingling with the subtle fragrance of blooming papyrus. Now, imagine that sweet, sticky substance honey is already part of your everyday life. But here's the kicker: you probably wouldn't survive a day in ancient Egypt without it. Not just a treat. Honey was a lifesaver, a healer, and even a divine offering. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, let me know where you are in the world and what time it is for you right now. Curious to see how far this sweet journey reaches. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Honey wasn't just a simple food for the Egyptians. It was woven into the very fabric of their medical, spiritual, and daily lives. From the tombs of pharaohs to the humble homes of farmers, honey found its place in Egyptian culture not only as a sweetener, but as a key player in their medicinal arsenal. Ancient Egyptians had an uncanny understanding of the power of nature's simplest gifts. This wasn't just about sticky sweetness, it was about something far more important: healing. Honey was one of their most trusted remedies, so let's dive into the ways they used it, and the surprisingly modern relevance of their techniques. You might think that ancient medicine was a bit primitive. Well, think again. The Egyptians were ahead of their time in more ways than one. Let's start with the basics of how honey made its way into their daily lives. And no, this wasn't just for a quick snack after work. Honey was so integral to Egyptian society that its medicinal uses spanned across various ailments. It wasn't just used by the wealthy or the royals. It was for everyone. Farmers, priests, soldiers, you name it. If you lived in Egypt, you were probably using honey to heal something, and probably every day. So, how did they come to trust honey so much? Was it divine intervention, or was it just good old-fashioned trial and error? Historians still argue whether it was sheer luck or ancient wisdom that led the Egyptians to realize honey's potential as a treatment. What we do know is that it wasn't just about the honey itself, it was the way they incorporated it into their lives and medicine. Whether for digestive problems, skin conditions, or even serious wounds, honey was often their first line of defense. Let's explore the most fascinating part: how honey was a daily staple in ancient Egyptian life. You might be surprised to learn that honey wasn't just reserved for the priests or pharaohs. It was found in the homes of everyday Egyptians too. This sweet, golden substance wasn't simply a luxury food item, it was an essential part of the Egyptian way of life. Imagine as you wake up to the warm Egyptian sun. Honey might be waiting for you on your breakfast table, whether in the form of a spread for your bread or mixed into a warm drink. This simple ingredient was integral to meals, but its true value wasn't just as a sweetener, it was part of something far more important. Ancient Egyptians were incredibly practical. They didn't just use honey as an afterthought. It was a critical element in their diet and medical treatments. A mix of grains, fruit, and honey was a basic dietary foundation, and the Egyptians knew how to make the most out of what nature provided them. honey was often paired with other locally sourced foods like dates and figs to create a nourishing meal or even a medicinal concoction. What's fascinating is that these combinations weren't just tasty. They were carefully selected for their health benefits. Historians argue that this diet was so balanced that it helped sustain the Egyptian population for centuries. But here's a quirky fact. Honey was often used as a preservative too. You see, it wasn't just about the sweetness, it was the antibacterial properties of honey that made it such a valuable commodity. They used it to preserve fruits and meats, and it even found its way into wine production. Honey didn't spoil, and its sticky nature meant it was perfect for keeping things fresh. Ancient Egyptians may not have known the science behind it, but they were masters of practical applications. Historians still debate whether the Egyptians understood the full scope of honey's medicinal properties. Did they realize that the sticky substance could protect wounds from infection, or was it just trial and error that led to its widespread use? Either way, honey's role as a food and medicine was firmly established. Imagine being an Egyptian doctor reaching for the honey pot instead of modern antibiotics. It might sound strange, but it worked. Now, let's turn our attention to honey's role as a wound healer. If you were an ancient Egyptian soldier or worker, you might have returned home from the fields with a nasty cut or wound. In those moments, what did you turn to for healing? The answer, quite surprisingly, might have been honey. Long before antibiotics were even a twinkle in a modern scientist's eye, honey was already showing its powerful antibacterial properties. Whether for minor cuts or serious injuries, Egyptians turned to this golden nectar as a remedy. But why honey of all things? Honey's natural ability to kill bacteria comes from a combination of factors like its low moisture content and high acidity, which make it an inhospitable environment for germs. The ancient Egyptians may not have known the science behind it, but they sure knew how to use it. Applying honey to a wound would have created a natural barrier protecting it from infection, while encouraging faster healing. Sounds a bit like magic, doesn't it? But here's where things get even more interesting. The Egyptians didn't just slather honey on any wound. They combined it with other ingredients like resin and herbs to create more effective remedies. For instance, honey was sometimes mixed with myrrh, another precious substance in ancient Egypt, known for its anti-inflammatory properties. This combination would have been ideal for treating both external injuries and internal ailments, offering relief and promoting recovery. But historians still argue over whether they fully understood how these ingredients worked together, or if it was simply their ritual of combining nature's bounty that produced these remarkable results. One fascinating use of honey was in the treatment of abscesses, a common problem for laborers working in the harsh Egyptian sun. Honey was also applied to burns and abrasions, acting as a soothing salve. Imagine the relief of applying honey to an open burn after a long day under the desert sun. The sweetness would have provided not just a physical healing, but perhaps a small comfort in the difficult lives of the workers. While it may seem a bit unorthodox today, there's something undeniably comforting in the thought that the Egyptians, without modern medical equipment, had found a solution in something so simple. The science of honey has been proven again and again in modern times, but it's hard to deny that the Egyptians were ahead of their time in their understanding of this natural remedy. They may have been using honey to treat wounds long before we knew exactly why it worked. But it was this very practicality that kept them at the forefront of ancient medicine. Now that we've touched on honey as a medical marvel, let's take a step back and explore its divine connection in ancient Egypt. You see, honey wasn't just a practical remedy. It had a sacred status in the Egyptian worldview. It wasn't just for the common folk or warriors. It was reserved for the gods and goddesses themselves. The Egyptians had a profound connection to the divine, and honey played a significant role in their religious rituals. Think about it. Honey was so revered that it wasn't just an offering, it was considered the food of the gods. One of the most fascinating aspects of honey's sacred status was its association with the sun god Ra. Ra was the creator god, the god of the sun, and one of the most important figures in the Egyptian pantheon. Honey, as sweet and life-giving as it was thought to embody the essence of Ra himself, life, vitality, and creation. It's said that honey symbolized the very essence of Ra's life-giving power, and therefore it was often used in religious offerings. But there's more. In the world of ancient Egypt, honey wasn't just about symbolism. It had real applications and rituals. Priests would burn honey as incense in temples, allowing its sweet, sticky scent to fill the air. Honey was also mixed into ointments used to anoint statues of gods and pharaohs. Imagine the delicate fragrance of honey wafting through the cool, dimly lit halls of a temple as priests carefully performed their rituals. Honey wasn't just an offering. It was believed to carry the very blessings of the gods. Historians still argue whether the Egyptians truly believed that honey had divine properties, or if it was just another part of their elaborate rituals. Regardless, it's clear that honey had a powerful connection to the spiritual world. From offerings to the gods to anointing sacred objects, honey bridged the earthly and the divine. Imagine being part of one of these ceremonies as honey with its golden glow was carefully placed before the statue of a god. It's a moment that feels almost magical, as though you are participating in a ritual that's been passed down through millennia. As we drift through this exploration of the sacred and medicinal uses of honey, it's easy to see why the Egyptians held it in such high esteem. It wasn't just a tool for survival, it was a gift from the gods. And in a world where every aspect of life was intertwined with the divine, honey was as essential to spiritual well-being as it was to physical health. Now, let's shift gears and talk about honey's surprising role in digestive health. You probably didn't expect to hear about stomach problems in ancient Egypt, but it turns out honey was a go-to solution for many of the digestive issues people faced. If you had an upset stomach or needed help with your digestion, the ancient Egyptians would have prescribed honey as part of the treatment. It wasn't just a quick fix either. Honey was seen as a long-term solution to maintaining a healthy digestive system. Why honey? Well, honey's soothing properties were likely recognized for their ability to calm an irritated digestive tract. The Egyptians were quite knowledgeable about the body and its inner workings, even if they didn't have the modern medical terminology we use today. Honey was an effective way to help with indigestion, and it was often paired with other ingredients like figs or dates to help the digestive process along. Imagine sitting down to a meal of fresh fruit, a small handful of figs, and a dollop of honey. It sounds like a light yet powerful combination to help you feel better after a long day of work. But here's a fun little tidbit for you. Honey was often mixed with beer. Yes, beer. Now, I know what you're thinking, beer and honey together. But the Egyptians were ahead of their time with this combination. Beer was a common beverage for all Egyptians, from the wealthy to the workers, and adding honey made it not only tastier, but also more medicinal. Honey helped balance the bitterness of the beer while promoting better digestion. It was almost like a natural remedy hidden in plain sight. Historians are still debating the true benefits of beer and honey together. Did it just taste better, or was there something more to it? In fact, honey wasn't just for treating stomach aches. It was used to help balance the body's overall health. Egyptian healers would prescribe honey as a remedy for a variety of gastrointestinal conditions, ranging from simple indigestion to more serious problems like ulcers. They probably didn't know about acid reflux, but honey's natural properties worked to soothe the digestive lining. It's safe to say they were on to something that modern science has only confirmed in recent years. Historians still argue whether the Egyptians fully understood the chemistry behind their remedies, or if it was simply trial and error that led them to these discoveries. What we do know is that honey was a trusted and beloved ingredient in their daily life, helping them stay healthy in ways that modern medicine is still discovering. It's a testament to their ingenuity and deep connection with the natural world. Let's now shift focus to honey's role in Egyptian beauty treatments, where it wasn't just about making people look good, but about preserving their health and vitality. We often think of beauty as a modern pursuit, something tied to commercialized products. But in ancient Egypt, beauty and health were one and the same. Egyptians understood the power of the ingredients found in nature, and honey was one of their top choices for skincare. Whether it was to prevent wrinkles, soothe skin irritation, or enhance a natural glow, honey was their go-to beauty treatment. You can imagine the scene: a luxurious bath in a grand Egyptian villa, the air filled with the smell of fresh oils and herbs, as a mixture of honey milk and essential oils was applied to the skin. This wasn't just about vanity. Honey was also used for its healing properties. Egyptians believed that the natural enzymes and antioxidants in honey could rejuvenate the skin, keeping it soft and youthful. In fact, honey was used in face masks and salves, often combined with other ingredients like olive oil, almond oil, or even milk ingredients that were easy to come by and packed with nourishing properties. A quirky little tidbit: Egyptians even used honey to enhance the beauty of their hair. Honey mixed with other natural oils was used to condition and soften hair. Imagine applying this sweet, sticky substance to your hair, leaving it to nourish and hydrate your locks. Honey's moisture-retaining properties were perfect for keeping hair shiny and healthy. And the Egyptians weren't the only ones who saw its potential. Other ancient cultures also used honey in similar beauty rituals. Historians still argue whether these beauty treatments were truly effective, or if the Egyptians simply believed in their power because they were so entwined with religious and cultural practices. It's also possible that honey's use in beauty treatments was as much about the ritual as it was about the results. It wasn't just about putting honey on your skin or hair, It was about connecting with the divine feeling renewed and embracing the healing properties that nature provided. What's even more fascinating is that many of these beauty secrets have stood the test of time. Today, honey is still a common ingredient in skincare products around the world. Modern science has confirmed that honey's natural properties, like its antibacterial and moisturizing effects, are as useful today as they were in ancient Egypt. So, the next time you apply a face mask or hair conditioner, you might just be indulging in a ritual that's thousands of years old. Now let's take a closer look at the role of honey in the field of ancient Egyptian medicine, and how it was used to formulate some of the earliest known medicinal treatments. You might be thinking, wait, didn't they have actual doctors? Well, yes, but back in ancient Egypt, doctors weren't the white coat-wearing professionals we picture today. Instead, they were often priests or wise healers who held a deep knowledge of plants, oils, and natural remedies. Honey was frequently used as a base ingredient in many of their medicinal concoctions, and it was believed to hold both curative and preventative properties. Egyptians knew that honey was much more than just a sweetener. It was a key ingredient in early Egyptian pharmacology, mixing it with herbs, resins, and oils to create potions that could soothe and heal a variety of ailments. For example, honey was often mixed with plants like garlic or thyme to treat infections or ease digestive discomfort. These combinations were the predecessors of the more sophisticated medicines we have today. Honey's antibacterial properties made it an essential part of these mixtures, with its natural ability to fight bacteria and promote healing. Imagine ancient Egyptian apothecaries carefully measuring out honey to be combined with resins and flowers, creating what was essentially an early form of pharmaceutical science. But what's truly fascinating is the extent to which honey was trusted as a universal remedy. It was used not only for physical ailments like wounds and infections, but also for more internal issues such as digestive disorders or even headaches. The Egyptians believed that honey could balance the body's internal energies, aligning physical health with spiritual well-being. While modern doctors might call this a placebo effect, ancient Egyptians truly saw the connection between mind, body, and spirit as being one and the same. And what better way to keep your body and soul in balance than by using the sweet nectar of the gods? Historians still argue whether honey was the panacea the Egyptians believed it to be, or if it was a combination of natural remedies that worked together in a way we don't fully understand today. Some modern researchers point to honey's remarkable antibacterial properties, while others suggest that its true power lay in the way it was woven into the broader system of Egyptian health and healing. Either way, there's no denying that honey held a central place in the early days of medicine, and its legacy continues to influence health practices today. Now, let's venture into an unexpected territory: honey's role in the ancient Egyptian process of mummification. Yes, you heard that right. Honey wasn't just for healing wounds or making sweets. It was also crucial in the preservation of the deceased. The ancient Egyptians had a deeply spiritual belief in the afterlife, and everything they did, especially in death, was meant to ensure that the soul's journey continued in peace. For this journey to be successful, the body needed to be preserved, and honey with its natural preservative properties was a key ingredient in this ritual. The embalming process was a meticulous one where the body was carefully cleaned, dehydrated, and anointed with various oils, resins, and, of course, honey. It wasn't just about mummifying the body. It was about making sure that the deceased would survive in the afterlife unscathed by the ravages of time. The sticky nature of honey made it a perfect substance to seal the body and protect it from the damaging effects of decomposition. It was often applied to the skin as well as used in the resinous compounds that would coat the body during mummification. You might be wondering, why honey? Well, as we have seen throughout history, honey has unique antibacterial properties that prevent microbial growth, which could lead to decay. This made it an excellent choice for preserving the body. But here's an interesting tidbit. Honey's use in mummification wasn't always consistent. Sometimes embalming fluids were mixed with honey in different quantities depending on the deceased's status. Pharaohs and the wealthier classes often received the most elaborate embalming procedures, where honey was used generously to ensure their bodies would last for eternity. Historians still argue whether honey's primary role in mummification was solely to preserve the body, or whether it also had a symbolic function. Was it a divine offering to the gods, a way to sweeten the afterlife, or just a practical method for preservation? While we can't know for sure, the use of honey in such a sacred practice gives it a special place in Egyptian religious and cultural rituals. Imagine being an ancient Egyptian priest performing the mummification process on a high-ranking individual, anointing the body with honey and resins, all the while knowing that this would ensure their safe passage into the afterlife. It's easy to see how honey, a substance so intimately tied to life, would come to symbolize immortality. The practice may seem a bit strange to us now, but in the context of ancient Egyptian beliefs, it was a deeply meaningful act. Let's now explore the realm of folk remedies, where honey wasn't just reserved for the elite or the mummification process, but was also part of everyday Egyptian life. Honey was commonly mixed with other natural substances in folk medicine to treat a variety of ailments. The Egyptians had a fascinating approach to healthcare, blending their knowledge of the human body with their spiritual beliefs. They were not only relying on honey for its medicinal properties, but also for its perceived ability to restore balance to the body and soul. In this section, we'll look at how honey was used in these everyday remedies, and how these ancient practices still resonate today. One of the most common uses of honey in Egyptian folk medicine was to treat coughs and colds. Imagine a commoner, after a long day of laboring under the sun, returning to their humble home, where they would prepare a simple yet effective remedy, honey mixed with herbs like thyme or mint. This concoction wasn't just about soothing the throat. It was thought to strengthen the body's defenses. Honey, with its antibacterial properties, was believed to help kill off the bacteria causing the illness, while also boosting the immune system. But it wasn't just for the body. The Egyptians also believed honey could bring emotional and spiritual healing. For instance, honey was sometimes mixed with wine to create a soothing drink to calm the mind, helping those who were stressed or suffering from anxiety. This wasn't just a form of relaxation. It was believed to help align one's energies, creating harmony between the physical and spiritual realms. In essence, honey acted as a bridge between body, mind, and spirit, a particularly fascinating remedy was the use of honey in treating skin conditions. Egyptians frequently used honey in combinations with other natural ingredients like milk and olive oil to create soothing balms for dry skin or rashes. Honey's moisturizing properties made it ideal for this purpose. In fact, honey was also used to treat burns, likely because of its cooling, healing qualities. Historians still debate whether these treatments were truly effective, or whether they were just part of a larger cultural understanding of nature's healing power. Despite the lack of modern medical knowledge, the Egyptians were incredibly resourceful in how they combined nature's gifts to create remedies. And in many ways, these remedies, especially those involving honey, were remarkably advanced. Even today, honey is still considered a natural treatment for many of the same conditions, from coughs to skin ailments. It's incredible to think that thousands of years ago the Egyptians had already unlocked so many of the same natural healing secrets that we still use today. Historians still argue whether the Egyptians understood the scientific basis of their remedies, or if it was simply their connection to nature that allowed them to make these discoveries. What we do know is that honey was an integral part of their folk medicine, and its reputation as a healer was firmly established long before the advent of modern pharmaceuticals. Now, let's dive into the royal use of honey, particularly how it was reserved for the pharaohs and the elite. In ancient Egypt, honey wasn't just a commodity. It was a symbol of wealth and divine favor. The royal family and the high priests were not only using honey as a cure for ailments, but also consuming it as part of their daily routine to promote health, longevity, and vitality. The pharaohs in particular were believed to have access to the best honey, sometimes mixed with exotic spices or rare flowers, creating a kind of super honey that would make even the healthiest modern-day health enthusiasts jealous. When we think of honey, we often imagine something simple and natural. But in the hands of Egyptian royalty, honey became part of a luxurious lifestyle. Imagine a banquet in the grand palace of a pharaoh. There, on the table, would be a bowl of honey, not just as a sweet treat, but as a symbol of power. The pharaohs consumed honey not only for its health benefits, but also as part of rituals intended to keep them strong and godlike. Royal honey was often mixed with other beneficial substances such as figs, almonds, and sometimes even wine, creating a health tonic that was believed to keep the rulers vibrant and youthful for as long as possible. Historians still debate the exact recipes used by the royals, and whether they had any real medicinal impact or if it was all just symbolic. Some argue that the royal use of honey was more about reinforcing the pharaoh's connection to the divine, ensuring that they remained eternally powerful in both life and the afterlife. Either way, honey was an integral part of the pharaoh's diet, possibly contributing to the longevity and health of the most powerful leaders in the ancient world. It wasn't just about indulgence, though. The Egyptians also saw honey as a way to maintain purity and balance within the body. As part of their elaborate burial rituals, pharaohs would be embalmed and their bodies anointed with honey to ensure that they stayed preserved for eternity. For the elite, honey wasn't just food. It was a tool for maintaining both physical and spiritual health, used as a form of divine protection. Even today, there are modern parallels to the idea of royal honey. We now have luxury honeys often infused with exotic ingredients like truffle or lavender that promise everything from better health to improved beauty. While we may not have the same reverence for honey as the Egyptians did, there's something undeniably luxurious about a well-crafted jar of honey. Perhaps we're not so different after all when it comes to our love for this sweet golden nectar. Now, let's turn to an interesting yet slightly eerie aspect of honey's use in the Egyptian afterlife: its role in burial rites. Honey wasn't just an everyday staple or a luxury for the living. It had a very specific and sacred function for the dead. In the ancient Egyptian world, where life and death were intricately intertwined, honey played a vital role in ensuring the deceased had a safe and sweet journey to the afterlife. The connection between honey and the afterlife is deeply fascinating and brings an entirely new layer of mystique to its already revered status. When a pharaoh or noble died, their body was meticulously embalmed and prepared for the afterlife. Honey wasn't just applied to preserve the body, it was also placed in the tombs alongside the deceased. The idea behind this was simple yet profound. Honey was considered to possess divine qualities that could protect the deceased and help them transition peacefully to the next world. It was believed to act as a kind of spiritual sustenance, nourishing the soul as it ventured through the trials of the afterlife. One particularly fascinating part of this practice was the inclusion of honey in the tomb's offerings. Not only would jars of honey be placed in the burial chamber as offerings to the gods, but it was often spread across the burial wrappings themselves. Some archaeologists suggest that this was done to protect the body and to keep it safe from decay for eternity. But beyond preservation, honey was meant to serve as a guide for the soul's journey. It was a sweet, golden offering to help the deceased navigate the afterlife with ease. Imagine, deep within the tomb, the scent of honey would mingle with the spices, oils, and incense, creating an atmosphere of reverence and sweetness, guiding the soul toward its eternal resting place. Historians still debate whether honey's presence in tombs was purely practical, aimed at preservation, or whether it had deeper spiritual significance. Some suggest it was a symbol of the pharaoh's ongoing power, even in death, while others believe it was simply the Egyptians' way of ensuring that the soul had everything it needed to thrive in the afterlife. Regardless of the reason, it's clear that honey's use extended far beyond the realm of the living and into the sacred space of death and beyond. The inclusion of honey in the afterlife also speaks to the Egyptians' belief in the importance of maintaining balance. They saw life and death as a continuous cycle, and honey, with its sweet, life-giving properties, was the perfect substance to ensure that this cycle was respected. In many ways, honey symbolized the divine, a link between the living and the dead, between the earth and the heavens. Let's now step back and consider how the legacy of honey in ancient Egypt has influenced modern alternative medicine. The ancient Egyptians may have lived thousands of years ago, but their use of honey still resonates today in natural healing practices. While modern science has certainly advanced beyond the simple remedies of ancient times, there's something profoundly timeless about honey's role in wellness. You might be surprised to learn that many of the practices the Egyptians pioneered have made their way into contemporary alternative health circles. For example, in today's world, honey is still used as a natural treatment for burns, cuts, and wounds. Modern studies have confirmed that honey's antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties are not just myth, they are scientifically sound. In fact, medical-grade honey like Manuka honey is often used in hospitals today to treat wounds that are resistant to antibiotics. So it turns out the ancient Egyptians knew something we're only now rediscovering. They didn't have our advanced technology, but their understanding of honey's natural powers was spot on. But honey's influence doesn't stop there. You've probably heard of the practice of using honey to ease a sore throat or cough. Well, the Egyptians were doing this long before the advent of modern medicine. Honey's soothing properties were recognized as early as 3000 BCE, and it was commonly used in teas or mixed with herbs to ease throat irritation. And just like today, it was believed to not only soothe the body, but also balance the mind. In the world of alternative medicine, honey is still regarded as a powerful remedy for both physical and emotional health. In fact, there's a modern belief that honey, particularly when combined with herbs like lavender or chamomile, can help calm anxiety and promote relaxation. You might also be interested to know that honey is still used in modern skincare, just as it was in ancient Egypt. From moisturizers to face masks, honey remains a favorite ingredient for its ability to nourish and hydrate the skin. Many of the same techniques used by the Egyptians, combining honey with oils, herbs, and other natural substances, are still practiced in contemporary beauty rituals. It's incredible to think that these ancient beauty secrets have transcended time and continue to be passed down now, backed by scientific research to support their efficacy. Historians and health experts continue to debate whether the Egyptians fully understood the scientific principles behind their use of honey. Did they know about the antibacterial properties? Or was it simply a trusted folk remedy passed down through generations? Regardless, the fact that honey continues to be a mainstay in alternative health practices speaks volumes about its lasting legacy. Even in today's fast-paced modern world, honey remains a symbol of nature's power to heal and nourish. As we look back at the ancient Egyptian use of honey, we can see how it fit seamlessly into their broader worldview. The Egyptians didn't simply use honey for its medicinal or practical benefits, they saw it as a conduit for a deeper connection with the divine. Honey wasn't just a food or medicine, it was a part of the sacred rituals that permeated their culture. It was symbolic, spiritual, and deeply integrated into their religious practices, creating a bridge between the earthly realm and the divine. One of the most fascinating aspects of this connection lies in how honey symbolized balance between life and death, body and spirit, the mortal and the divine. The Egyptians believed that balance was the key to maintaining health and harmony in their lives. Just as honey could heal wounds and protect the body, it was thought to keep the soul in balance as it journeyed to the afterlife. The use of honey in burial rites wasn't just about preserving the body. It was about ensuring that the soul's journey was smooth and unhindered. It's a fascinating thought. Honey was used in the rituals of the living to keep them healthy, and it was also used in the rituals of the dead to ensure a peaceful afterlife. Honey was at once a nourishment for the body, a healing substance for wounds, and a sacred offering to the gods. It was the essence of life itself, carrying the sweet promise of vitality and protection for both the living and the deceased. historians still argue whether the Egyptians truly understood honey's place in the larger cosmic balance or if it was merely symbolic. But regardless of whether they had a scientific understanding of why honey worked, they had a profound understanding of its importance in maintaining balance. This isn't just about food or medicine. Honey became a sacred tool deeply woven into the very fabric of Egyptian spirituality. And that connection continues to this day. In modern times, honey is still viewed as a symbol of sweetness, abundance, and healing. Whether you use it to sweeten your tea tree to sore throat or simply enjoy it as part of your daily routine, honey remains a reminder of the enduring wisdom of ancient cultures. The ancient Egyptians, with their reverence for nature and its gifts, recognized the sacred power of honey long before we understood its full range of benefits. In many ways, honey has become a symbol of timelessness. Its natural qualities have withstood the test of time, crossing cultural boundaries and continuing to serve as a powerful tool for healing and nourishment. And just as it was revered in the temples of ancient Egypt, it continues to be revered in modern kitchens and apothecaries around the world. Honey's legacy stretches far beyond Egypt, influencing cultures around the world, and its journey speaks to its undeniable power as both a medicine and a symbol of prosperity. After the ancient Egyptians, honey's medicinal use spread to other civilizations, each adapting it to their own needs and beliefs. But no matter where honey traveled, it retained its sacred healing essence. From the Greeks and Romans to medieval European healers, honey has remained a constant in the history of medicine and wellness. Let's start with the Greeks. They were deeply influenced by Egyptian practices and adopted honey into their own medical treatments. Greek physicians like Hippocrates, often called the father of medicine, wrote about honey's use in treating wounds, soothing sore throats, and even aiding digestion. The Greeks also embraced honey's role as a food offering to the gods, believing it had divine qualities that could improve both the body and soul. So, honey, which started as a humble gift from nature in Egypt, evolved into something of a universal panacea for the ancient world. The ancient Greeks recognized what the Egyptians had already known. Honey's natural properties were too valuable to overlook. When we move to the Middle Ages, honey remained an essential part of healing, but its use was not confined to the medical field alone. Monks, who were the primary caregivers in monasteries, often relied on honey as an ingredient in the medicinal tinctures and salves they created. In fact, some historians argue that it was during this period that honey truly became globalized, thanks to the extensive trade routes that connected Europe with the Middle East and Africa. Honey found its way into European apothecaries, and even in medical practices where modern treatments had yet to emerge, honey served as a vital healing agent. Fast forward to modern times, and we find that honey's influence hasn't waned at all. It remains a staple in natural medicine, particularly in home remedies and alternative healing practices. Its antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties have been extensively researched, and studies have shown that honey, especially varieties like Manuka honey, is still effective in treating everything from minor cuts to chronic wounds. Modern researchers, in fact, are now studying honey's potential for treating even more complex issues, like ulcers and infections resistant to traditional antibiotics. Historians and health experts still argue about the extent of honey's medicinal impact across cultures. Did it really live up to its reputation, or was its historical value more symbolic? While we can't know for sure, what's clear is that honey has played a profound role in the evolution of medical practices and continues to be valued today. It's a testament to the wisdom of those who came before us, particularly the ancient Egyptians, who recognized that nature had already provided us with some of the most powerful tools for healing. As honey traveled across continents and through time, it carried with it the wisdom of ancient civilizations and the understanding that the simplest elements of nature can hold remarkable power. Whether used for its healing properties, its sweetness, or its spiritual significance, honey has remained a constant throughout history, a symbol of life, health, and prosperity. And just as it nourished the Egyptians, it continues to nourish us both physically and spiritually. As we come to the end of this journey through ancient Egypt and beyond, let's take a moment to reflect on the enduring legacy of honey. From the moment the Egyptians first recognized its healing potential to its role in religious ceremonies and its place in burial rites, honey has transcended time and culture. It's been a symbol of life, health, and spiritual connection for millennia, and its influence is still felt today in modern medicine and natural healing. But beyond its practical uses, honey tells a story about the deep relationship between humanity and the natural world. The Egyptians weren't just using honey because it was sweet. They understood that honey was a gift from nature, one that held life-sustaining properties that could heal the body and nourish the soul. It was sacred, it was essential, and it was a part of their connection to the divine. Today, we continue to use honey in much the same way as a natural remedy, a food source, and even a symbol of wellness and longevity. As we've seen, honey wasn't just for the rich or the powerful. It was something that everyone in ancient Egypt could access, from the pharaohs to the farmers. It was a communal resource, something that brought people together and connected them to both the earth and the heavens. And that idea of community, of sharing something that has the power to heal, is still relevant today. The use of honey in modern alternative medicine is just one example of how the lessons of ancient cultures continue to inform our practices and beliefs. So, what can we take away from all of this? Maybe it's the realization that some of the most powerful tools for healing have always been right under our noses. Honey, as simple and sweet as it seems, is a reminder that nature often provides us with everything we need to thrive. Perhaps it's also a reminder that, just like the ancient Egyptians, we too can find balance in the natural world. As we close tonight's story, take a deep breath and think about the sweet simplicity of honey. It's been part of human history for thousands of years, and it will likely continue to be part of our lives for many more to come. Whether you're using it to soothe a sore throat, heal a cut, or just sweeten your tea, honey has a timeless quality that connects us to our past, our culture, and the earth itself. Now, dim the lights a little more, relax, and let yourself drift off into that peaceful sleep, knowing that you carry a bit of the ancient Egyptian wisdom with you. The legacy of honey sweet and healing continues to be with us, guiding us gently through time.